Hello, everybody. Today I am reading a book called Chiang and the Dragon's Dance. It is written and illustrated by Ian Wallace. From time to time, Chiang stood only as high as his grandfather's knees. He had dreamed of dancing the dragon's dance. Now the first day of the year of the dragon had arrived, and his dream was to come true. Tonight he would dance with his grandfather. But instead of being excited, Chiang was so scared he wanted to melt into his shoes. He knew he could never dance well enough to make grandfather proud of him. He stopped sweeping the floor of his family shop and looked into the street where his mother and father were busy with other shopkeepers, hanging up paper lanterns shaped like animals, fish, and birds. It's time to practice our parts in the dragon's dance for the last time before the other dancers arrive, Chiang. The afternoon is almost over, called Grandfather Wu from the bake room behind the shop. If I were a rabbit, I could run far away from here, Chiang said to himself. But then Mama, Papa, and Grandfather really would be ashamed of me. So very slowly he walked into the bake room where Grandfather Wu stood waiting. He was wearing the splendid, fierce dragon's head that he would put on again that night for the parade. Pick up the silk tail on the floor behind me, said his grandfather from inside the dragon's head, and together we will be the most magnificent dragon that anyone has ever seen. Chiang did as he was asked, but as his grandfather started to dance, Chiang did not move. Grandfather can hide under the dragon's head, he whispered, but if I trip or fall, I have nowhere to hide. Everyone will say, oh, there goes clumsy Chiang. Grandfather Wu stopped dancing. A dragon must have a tail as well as a head, he said gently. Chiang looked down at his shoes. I can't dance the dragon's dance, he said. You have trained for a long time, Chiang. Tonight, when you dance, you will bring tears of pride to your parents' eyes. Now come, join me in practice, just as we have practiced before. But when Chiang tried to leap, he tripped, stumbled, and fell. Why had he ever thought he could dance the dragon's dance? Why had he ever wanted to? He was much too clumsy. He jumped up and ran away from his grandfather, out of the shop, into the market street. He stopped long enough to pick up a rabbit lantern, poke 2 holes for eyes, and shove it over his head. Look, look! It's the dragon's tail, called Mrs. Lau, dangling a speckled salmon for Chiang to see. Tonight, when you dance, the great dragon who lives in the clouds above the mountains will be honored. And next year he will fill our nets with beautiful fish like this. Chiang turned away, and he will grow oranges of a size and color never seen before, called Mr. Koo. What they say is true, added Mr. Singh. The great dragon will bring prosperity and good fortune if your dance pleases him. But Chiang remembered what one of the other dancers had once told him. If the dance was clumsy, the great dragon would be angry. Then he might toss the fruit from the trees and flood the valley. It will all be my fault, thought Chiang. Grandfather Wu will have to choose someone else to dance with him. He waited to hear no more and raced across the market street. Our fish! Cried Mrs. Lau. Our oranges! Called Mr. Koo. Chiang turned the corner. Our dance! Called Grandfather Wu from the doorway. Looking out through the lantern, Chiang hurried along the road by the sea to the public library, which he had visited many times when he wanted to be alone. He opened the door and ran up the stairs, round and round, higher and higher, up, to the door at the top that led out to the roof. From his perch in the sky, he could see the mountains rising above the sea, and below him the animal lanterns, which would glow like tiny stars tonight. Chin Chang felt happier than he had for many days. I never expected to meet a rabbit on top of this roof, called a strange voice. Chin Chang turned around quickly. A woman carrying a mop and pail was coming toward him. I am not a rabbit, he said shyly. I am Chin Chang. And he pulled off the lantern. Oh, that is much better, she said. Greetings, Chin Chang. My name is Pu Yi. May I enjoy the view with you? She didn't wait for a reply. In a little while, I'll be watching the New Year's parade from here. I used to dance the dragon's dance when I was young, but not anymore. My feet are too old and they are covered with corns. My grandfather dances the dragon's dance, said Chin Chang, and his corns are as old as yours. Pu Yi laughed. His old shoes may move his old bones, but my feet will never dance again. A wonderful idea suddenly came to Chin Chang. What if he had found someone to dance in his place? He would show Pu Yi his part in the dance right now. No one would see them if they tripped or fell. You can help me practice what my grandfather taught me, he said. Oh, my creaky bones. What a funny sight that will be, said Pu Yi. You can dance, he told her. Cautiously, Chin Chang gave a little jump. Pu Yi jumped too. He shook slowly at first, and she shook too. Next, they leaped into the air, landed together, and spun on their heels. Before long, Pu Yi had forgotten her creaky bones. Then Chin Chang stumbled and fell. Let's try again, said Pu Yi, picking him up. While they danced, darkness had crept down slowly from the mountains to the city below. Then from far off, Chin Chang heard the lilting tune of pigeons with whistles tied to their tail feathers. They had been set free from their cages in the marketplace and were flying high above the buildings. Chin Chang knew this meant that the New Year festival had begun. We must go, Pu Yi. We're late, said Chin Chang. The pigeons are flying free. I'm not late, she replied. I'm staying here. But Chin Chang pulled her by the hand and they hurried down the stairs together, round and round, down to the market street. The sound of firecrackers exploded in their ears while the eager crowd buzzed and hummed. Chin Chang pushed his way forward, but Pu Yi pulled back. In the noise and confusion, Chin Chang let go of her hand, and suddenly he came face to face with a dragon whose head was wreathed in smoke. Where have you been, Chin Chang? I have been sick with worry, called Grandfather Wu in a muffled voice. Chin Chang did not reply. Come now, take up the tail before the smoke disappears and everyone can see us. Chin Chang stood still, his feet froze into the ground. The clamor of the street grew louder, stinging his ears. I can't dance, Grandfather, he said. Grandfather Wu turned away. You can dance, Chin Chang. Follow me. Look, here comes the dragon, called Mr. Singh. The crowd sent up a cheer that bounced off windows and doors and jumped into the sky. Chin Chang was trapped. Slowly, he stooped and picked up the tail. Grandfather Wu shook the dragon's head fiercely until Chin Chang started to kick up his heels to the beat of the thundering drum. Then suddenly Chin Chang stumbled, but instead of falling, he did a quick step and recovered his balance. Excitedly, he leaped into the air and higher again, and as the dance went on, Chin Chang's feet moved more surely. His steps grew firmer and his leaps more daring. Mrs. Lau and Mr. Koo cheered from their market shops while people poured out of their houses onto balconies and sidewalks, filling the streets. High in the sky, flags of fire and falling moons burst into light. They sizzled and sparkled, rocketed straight up, and whistled to the ground. Just then, Chin Chang caught sight of a familiar face in the crowd. It was Pu Yi. Chin Chang leaped to the sidewalk and pulled her into the street. I can't, Chin Chang, she said, pulling away. My bones, my corns, my knees. Pu Yi, yes, you can, Chin Chang assured her. Look at me. Hesitantly, she took hold of the tail, and together they kicked up their heels just as they had on the rooftop, while the throngs of people cheered them on. Up one street and down another they danced to the beat of the thundering drum. All too soon the dragon lifted its head and shook its tail for the last time. The dance was over. Pu Yi hugged Shin Chang close. Grandfather Wu smiled inside the dragon's head. Bring your new friend to our home for dinner, Chin Chang, he said. Pu Yi and Chin Chang hopped quickly over the doorstep and into the bake shop. The family exchanged gifts of fine teas and wooden boxes, new clothes, and small red envelopes of lucky money. Then they sat together to share plates of meat dumplings and carp, bowls of steaming soup, and trays of delicious pastries and cakes and fresh fruit. To Chin Chang, the very best dragon's tail I have ever seen, said Grandfather Wu, raising his glass in a toast. Chin Chang's face glowed with pride. To a prosperous year of the dragon, he said, raising his glass to his mama, papa, grandfather, and his new friend, Pu Yi. And that is the end of the book.